Good afternoon friends. So আজকে আমি কয়েকটা questions discuss করতে আসলাম. Questions are related to a specific exam called GMAT. তো একটু preface দিই what is GMAT. GMAT is an entrance exam যেটা গ্লোবাল বিজনেস স্কুলে অ্যাডমিশনের জন্য লাগে। সো ক্যাট দিয়ে আমরা যে ইন্ডিয়ান বি স্কুলস আছে সেখানে অ্যাডমিশন হয়, আর জিম্যাটের থ্রুতে পুরো গ্লোবাল ওয়ার্ল্ড ওয়াইড যে বিজনেস স্কুলসগুলো আছে ওখানে অ্যাডমিশন হয়। দের আর ফিউ স্কুলস যেখানে জিআরই দিয়েও অ্যাডমিট হয়, বাট দ্য 95% কিন্তু জিম্যাটের থ্রু হয়। সো জিম্যাট ইজ এ এক্সাম যেটার দুটো সেকশন। এখন একটা নতুন এডিশন এসছে, দ্যাট ইজ জিম্যাট ফোকাসড এডিশন, যেখানে আইআর হুইচ ইজ ইন্টিগ্রেটেড রিজনিং সেটাও ইনক্লুড করা হয়েছে। সো আদারওয়াইজ জিম্যাট হ্যাজ টু পোর্শন, ওয়ান ইজ want, other is verbal. So আজকে আমি যে কয়েকটা কোয়েশ্চেন্স ডিসকাস করব সেটা হলো ভার্বালের একটা পোর্শন। ভার্বাল কনসিস্ট অফ এসসি, that is sentence correction, CR, that is critical reasoning, and RC, that is reading comprehension. So today, just this is the first day I'm doing this. So actually আমি একটু বলি আমার এটা করার পারপাসটা কি। এর পারপাস হলো এটা যে GMAT is a heavily expensive exam. সবাই এফোর্ড করতে পারে না, এর রিসোর্সেস they are very expensive. Everybody can't afford that. So my purpose is to reach out to those people যারা এটাকে এফোর্ড করতে পারে না, still they can learn something from my content. If that happens, I'll be very happy. So আমার পারপাসটা ওটাই, যারা একটু অর্থনৈতিকভাবে দুর্বল তারা যাতে if they can have an idea what exactly GMAT is. So what is GMAT and what is CR, critical reasoning, সেটা I'm not getting into all this into depth, because that is also your due. তোমাকেও কিছু রিসার্চ করতে হবে in order to know what is GMAT and all. So getting back to the point, আজকে আমি GMAT-এর একটা পোর্শন ডিসকাস করব, দ্যাট ইজ ক্রিটিক্যাল রিজনিং। সো হোয়াট I'll do is আমি ক্রিটিক্যাল রিজনিং সেকশনের কয়েকটা কোয়েশ্চেন সলভ করব। there are tricks and traps. সো আমি কোয়েশ্চেনগুলো সলভ করব। there are certain techniques. সো খুব ভালো লাগবে যদি if I can help anybody through this. সো ওকে, আমরা একটা ক্রিটিক্যাল রিজনিংয়ের একটা অ্যাজাম্পশন সলভ করব। So I'll straight get into the question. I'll write down the question here so that সহজ হয় বুঝতে। Initially I'll write down the entire question. What is the argument is telling that to prevent the porpoises, a fishing company has installed acoustic alarm on its fishing boats at Massachusetts. Okay, alright. So the sound emitted temporarily disorients the porpoises. The alarm that has been set up in the fishing boats, that is disorienting the porpoises and frightening them away. So they're getting kind of scared, the porpoises. And ever since of this installation of these fishing nets, the average number of porpoises caught has gone significantly down. So that is the whole argument. So it is telling, because an alarm has been installed, the number of porpoises caught has gone down significantly. That is the argument. So we need to assume something which is essential for the argument to hold true. আমাদের অপশন এ বলছে যে the use of acoustic alarms, the use of acoustic alarms increases just hold on for a sec. The use of acoustic increases the number of commercial fish caught by the fishing company boats. Caught by the fishing company boats. So the argument is telling that ever since the installation of the acoustic alarm, the number of porpoises caught per month has gone down from 8 to 1. So that is the real argument. So this is telling the use of acoustic alarms increases the number of commercial fish caught by the fishing company boats. All right. So first of all, are we considering any kind of commercial fish yet? Are we talking about, is there any mention of commercial fish here? We have no mention here. So this is out of context. This goes, and this holds no implication on the conclusion or the whole argument, whether the alarm is increasing commercial fish caught by the fishing nets is completely irrelevant to the context. We are not bothered about that. We are only bothered whether the installation of alarm has decreased the number of porpoises caught by the fishing nets. So this is out of context, irrelevant. So we'll go to the second option. The cost of the installing acoustic alarms on fishing boat is less than the cost of repairing nets, damaged by repairing nets damaged by porpoises. So as I have already said that, assumptions are something what we assume, and in order to for the argument to hold true, assumptions are essential, so we should always stick to the point, we should always stick to the argument and its reasoning, so here our argument is that ever since installation of acoustic alum, the number of porpoises caught has gone down significantly. So two main factor: installation of acoustic alum and decline in the number of porpoises caught and their interrelation. So this option is telling the cost of the installing acoustic alum on fishing boat is less than the cost of repairing net damaged by the porpoises. So this is telling some cost. So we are nowhere bothered about the cost of this and cost of that. All we bother how the installation of acoustic alum has decreased the number of porpoises caught. So this is telling something completely out of context. This is talking about cost of acoustic alum. So this is also goes out of context. This option is eliminated. So we'll go down to our third option, which says option D, the alums were installed at the time of the year when harbor porpoises are most plentiful in the Massachusetts water. When harbor porpoises are most plentiful in the Massachusetts water. Option D, which says the alums were installed at the time of the year when harbor porpoises are most plentiful in the Massachusetts water. So, we are concerned about our argument, which says how the installation of acoustic alum has caused the number of porpoises caught to go down. Now, as I already said time and again that in critical reasoning we should always stick to our argument and eliminate anything that is not related to our context. So here they are telling the alums were installed at the time of the year where the porpoises are the most plentiful in the Massachusetts water. So are we really bothered about when the alums were installed? Has that any implication on the conclusion of the argument? Has that any bearance on the whole argument when the alums were installed? We are not bothered. So this is simply out of context. So this is also eliminated. We'll go to our next option. So our next option is option C, which says environmental advocate, environmentalists. Okay. Environmentalists advocate the use of acoustic alarm. Advocate the use of acoustic alarm as a means of protecting the harbor porpoise population. As a means of protecting the harbor porpoises population. So what the statement is saying is environmentalists advocate the use of acoustic alarm as a means of protecting the harbor porpoises population. So there are certain kind of people who are recommending the use of acoustic alarm. So that how that is related to our argument? Is it telling us that how it is related to installation of acoustic alarm has caused the number of porpoises caught to go down? No, it has no bearance, no importance on the argument, on the reasoning of the argument, and overall on the conclusion. So this is also out of context. So this is also eliminated. So we'll get down our last option for this assumption question. So the last one is saying when disoriented harbor porpoises are not significantly more likely. Harbor porpoises are not significantly more likely to be killed by other boats. So what is telling? When disoriented, harbor porpoises are not likely to be killed by other boats. So this is something we really need to assume in order to argument for the argument to hold truth. Because if we negate this argument, if we say when disoriented, porpoises are likely to be killed by other boats. So if we negate this, which simplifies that when disoriented by the acoustic alarm, porpoises are likely to be killed by other boats, right? So the assumption, the arguments that that acoustic alarm, installation of acoustic alarm has been the reason for the porpoises, number of porpoises to get down is crumbled, right? Because there are some alternate reason that porpoises may be killed by other birds. Right? If porpoises are killed by some other birds, the whole argument crumbles. So what is this technique? This is called ANT. ANT stands for assumption negation techniques. So whatever the statement is given, I'll negate it. When disoriented, porpoises are, here it is given as not, I'll negate this, so porpoises are likely to be killed by other birds. Right? So if porpoises are likely to be killed by other birds, so the installation of acoustic alarm has no bearance on the decline of number of porpoises because some other birds have killed it. So the entire argument crumbles while if I negate this assumption. So in order to hold the argument true, we need to assume this, that when disoriented, harbor porpoises are not significantly likely to be killed by other birds. So this is the assumption we need to assume. So yeah, this is just an assumption question. So এটা একটু কেটে দাও লাস্টেরটা, লাস্টটা একটু কেটে দাও এগেইনস্টটা। সো এটা একটা assumption question এর example. So I'll discuss several parts of GMAT. So I myself had to purchase expensive GMAT resources in order to learn all this. So as I have already explained my purpose for this thing, that I want to help those needy people who cannot access the hugely expensive GMAT contents. So I'm doing this for them, and yes, if you kind of like it, you must show some kind of appreciations. I'll be more than happy. So yeah, that's it. That's our first assumption question discussed. Thank you. আমরা এবার আমাদের সেকেন্ড অ্যাজাম্পশন স্যাম্পল কোয়েশ্চেনটা দেখব। সো যখন আমরা একটা ক্রিটিক্যাল রিজনিং কোয়েশ্চেন সলভ করব, তো দ্য ফার্স্ট অ্যান্ড ফরমোস্ট we need to understand the argument very well. Unless we understand the argument, the meaning of the argument, the statements of the argument, the reasoning of the argument, and most importantly, the conclusion of the argument. So overall, we need to understand the argument at the first place. What exactly it is trying to say, and what exactly it is trying to convey. So here it is telling the interview is an essential part of a successful hiring program, because with it job applicants who have personalities that are unsuited to the requirement of the job will be eliminated from the consideration. So what it is telling, that personal interview is the most important part of a hiring process, because with the help of it we can eliminate those personality which are not suited for the requirement of the job. So the arguments depends on which on the following assumption. Okay, so that is our argument in nutshell. So we'll get down to options now, and we'll cross verify one by one. So the first one is telling a hiring program will be successful if it includes interviews. So in this argument, are we talking about how the hiring program will be successful, and if that has any bearance on this argument, how the hiring program will be more successful, more cool and all. We are not bothered about that. We are only bothered how a personal interview is helping us to eliminate those personalities who are not suited to the requirement of the job. Okay, so this gets eliminated because we are not bothered about how successful the hiring program is going to be. So second option says the interview is the most important part of hiring program. So are we bothered about interview is the most important part of hiring program, or the least important part of hiring program, or the second most important part of hiring program, or the third most important part of hiring program? We are not bothered about that. Where interview stands in terms of importance. We are only bothered about the argument which says how interview helps us to eliminate those persons who are not relevant to this job requirement. So interview is the most important part of hiring process, has no bearance on the argument and its reasoning and its conclusion. So this gets eliminated. Okay, so now we get down to our third statement, which says interview can accurately identify applicants whose personalities are unsuited to the requirement of the job. Now this is something very interesting. They are telling interview can accurately identify applicants whose personalities are unsuited to the requirement of the job. Now think, in order for the argument to hold true, we need to assume this. We need to assume this, that by the help of an interview, applicants whose personalities are unsuited to the requirement of the job can accurately be identified. Otherwise, if we negate this argument, that assumption negation technique that is called ANT, if we apply this here, so interview can accurately identify are unsuited to the requirement of the job. So we negate this. Interview cannot accurately identify applicants whose personalities are unsuited to the requirement of the job. So interview cannot identify. So if our argument says that with the help of interview we can eliminate personalities according to the requirement of the job. But here it is telling interview cannot accurately identify applicants. So if it cannot accurately identify applicants whose personalities are well suited and not suited to the requirement of the job, then how come interview help us to eliminate personalities? So if we negate this argument that interview cannot accurately identify the applicants whose personalities are unsuited to the requirement of the job, the entire argument breaks down. So this is the assumption we need to assume. So as we got our right answers, we don't need to look at the rest of the options, but anyhow I'll do that for the sake of learning, you know. The fourth option is telling the only purpose of an interview is to evaluate whether job applicant personalities are well suited to the requirement of the job. The only purpose of an interview. So how come we are bothering the purpose of an interview? How that has an implication on the entire argument? We are not bothered about the purpose of the interview. All we are bothered how the interview helping us eliminate personalities according to the requirement of the job. So this is completely out of context. This goes wrong. So the last one is to feed the job applicants to the requirement to feed the job applicants. What is this? Just give me a sec. So to feed the job applicants personalities to the requirement of the job was once the most important factor in hiring process. So what this last option is telling us, that what was the most important factor of hiring process back sometime. So what we got to do with that? What was the most important part of hiring process? All we bothered is interview and its impact on eliminating personalities not suited for the requirement of the job. So this also has got no bearance on the arguments, its reasoning, its conclusion. So this is completely out of context. So we got our answer, that is number 3. Interview can accurately applicants whose personalities are unsuited to the requirement of the job. This is something we need to assume in order to justify that interview is something which helps us to eliminate personalities non-suited for the job. Thank you. So বন্ধুরা, আজকে আমরা GMAT এর একটা স্পেসিফিক সেকশন ডিসকাস করলাম, দ্যাট ইজ সিআর এর একটা সেট অফ কোয়েশ্চেন ইজ অ্যাসাম্পশন. সো জিম্যাটটা এখন ইট কম্প্রাইজেস অফ, ever since the GMAT new focused edition has entered the scene, so GMAT consists of quant, verbal, and its new edition is IR, which is integrated reasoning. আজকে যেরকম আমি দুটো assumption question ডিসকাস করলাম, সো যদি এটাতে আমি সেরকম রেসপন্স পাই, যদি এটাতে তোমরা আমার অ্যাপ্রিসিয়েট করো ভালো, দেন নেক্সট ডে I'll discuss a topic from quant which is percent. So percentage is nothing but percentage, and so GMAT এ পার্সেন্টেজ রিলেটেড যে সমস্ত প্রশ্ন আসে এবং তাদের কি করে সেগুলো অ্যাপ্রোচ করতে হবে, কি করে টু হ্যাভ দোজ বেসিক আইডিয়াস অফ পার্সেন্টেজ. তো পরের দিন আমরা পার্সেন্টেজ ডিসকাস করব. আর থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ, অ্যান্ড আই হোপ ইউ লাইক ইট. থ্যাংক ইউ.